Welcome, Miss Cindy McGovern. So happy to have you here.
So excited to be here. Hello, everyone from across the globe. I'm in San Francisco, so I saw we had SoCal on here. So nice to see you all. So guys, I am so excited to be here today for a number of reasons. Number one, I'm just adore this team. So big because you're my new besties, but also because I have such a passion around helping people to grow their businesses. And there's such an amazing entrepreneurial energy on this today. And I can feel it, I can hear it, I see you guys so what I want to do is share some things to help you go back to your agencies to be able to grow your business. And you're marketing, I'm sales, same size, same, coin, different sides of it, right? So part of what I want to do is also give you some tips to share if you've got a team, because it's not just about you. Everybody you come in contact with is actually a walking commercial for your organization, whether it's a customer, whether it's a customer that's no longer a customer, whether it was a prospect. There's so many different options here. So what I'd like to do is share my screen, because I do have some little slides for you that I wanted to go through really quickly, if that's okay. And hang tight, let me get this started. So I do believe every job is a sales job. It's not just the title of a book. I really do believe it. And I believe that we are all selling every single day, all day long. We just don't maybe call it that. And so what I want to take you through is the fact that, everything has changed. No surprise there. The world that we are living in is totally different. But I invite you to take just the next, 15, 20 minutes and examine your sales practices. I know you crush marketing, but I want you to examine your sales practices. Are we still doing the same things? And a lot of organizations that we work with, it's very interesting because it's like, oh, well, we've always done it this way. If you ever say that, smack yourself because the world has changed. We need to start looking at what we need to do different. Markets have changed. Everything around us has changed. So I invite you to just take these next few moments, and I'm going to leave you with very tangible things. It's the old college professor in me. I can't help but give homework. So you're going to have it. So we're going to give you tangible things to take back to your team, because ultimately we have to change because our customer has changed. Our customers' needs have changed. All of these things are very, very different. And so we have to embrace what the new tactics are for sales. So we're going to talk about the death of the salesman. Now, Colleen had actually said that ick factor thing, the salesman or saleswoman sort of avatar. And this is my avatar for a sales guy. I call him Tommy Two Thumbs, because this is who I think of. Anybody else, when you hear the word sales, you think of this guy, yeah. For sure, right? Yeah. Hey, what's it going to take to get you in this car? Nobody wants to be sold, but everybody likes to buy. So our goal is to invite them in. You've been selling your whole life, especially when you're in charge, you're in sales. But the key is we got to get our teams over this ick factor. And even maybe some of you have the ick factor of sales as well. Maybe you're feeling like, ooh, I can't push people, or I'm following up too soon with that prospect. Guys, it's sales. Fail fast. Your time is money. And if you've never done this exercise, this is a little off, but if you've never done this exercise to figure out what your hourly rate is worth as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, I encourage you to do so. Literally look at your workable hours, what you make, and divide it, and take out your vacation, take out, if you take a month off, take that off too, but really look at your hourly rate. And the reason I want you to look at your hourly rate is because there's two things that can happen during your day. You're either making that money or it's costing you that money. So let's just use a round figure of 100,000. 100,000 is your workable goal. Well, let's take 4 weeks out of that. That's 1920. That means your hourly rate is worth about 52 bucks. Guys, that's a lot of money if it's costing you that. Why are you elongating your sales cycle? Because you don't want to be Tommy Two Thumbs? I'm going to tell you right now, if you were Tommy Two Thumbs, you would not have invested to be on this session this morning. Tommy Two Thumbs doesn't think he needs any help. Tommy Two Thumbs doesn't care about the client. Tommy Two Thumbs cares about what he wants. So let this go. Let this go. It's the death of a salesman. Those days are over, guys. The customer is changing. We live in this peer review society. Generational differences impact everything. Communication with the customer has evolved. There are so many things that are different. But here's a big misconception. Customer service is sales, right? Are they the same thing? So really quick question, show of hands. How many of you think they're the same thing, customer service and sales? Let's like pop those hands up. Yeah, right? Like a lot of us think that. So I invite you to examine it like this. We all want to give world-class service, right? We all want to have this world-class experience and all of these things. Great service is expected. So I actually think they're different. Customer service is what I bare minimum want from your organization. Sales is that little extra that gives me a story to tell later. So even in the word choice that you use with your family, with your friends, with your colleagues, with your employees, and with your customers, be careful about that word service. It's like if I go through a drive-through, don't judge, I travel a lot. So if I go through a drive-through and I order my burger and fries and my Coca-Cola, I expect that they give it to me. I expect that they don't throw it through the window. I expect that they're like somewhat pleasant, right? But if you actually get somebody at the drive-through window who's like, how's your day going? Truthfully, most of us, it takes us aback a little bit because we're like, wait, you're nice. Hold on. Why are you being so nice to me? It's the service expectation that we have. So we have to look at how we're creating wow moments for our clients and internal clients as well. So I want you to think about, we've got to give a great experience that leads to a great story so that people want to talk about us. And we've all been there where we've had a bad experience and we go tell everybody, right? Like, I mean, look, I will continue to tell you my American Airlines story from 2007 if you want to hear it, right? So it's one of those things where we kind of hold on to the bad. Let's give people a reason to talk about you. If you're just doing the job and you are handling the marketing and you're doing all of those things, that's lovely. But is it giving me a story to tell? Give me an experience that makes me want to go talk about it. And that's why I honestly believe every job is a sales job, because everybody within your organization that touches that customer or potential customer is actually in sales, not service. How do you guys feel about this? And I want you to use the chat box. I want you to raise your hands. I want you to unmute your lines. Like, I want to talk through this, but I want you guys to be thinking about even your own vocabulary change around this. Because y'all, it starts with us. It starts with the leadership, starts with us saying, we're not going to call this service anymore. I would love to get t-shirts made that say service with like that big like circle with the X through it. Because if I go to any of your organization's websites, going to tell me you give great service. That doesn't differentiate you. It's the experience that differentiates you. So just think about that. And part of this begins with creating that sales culture as well. And everybody within your organization needs to know the role that they actually play in business growth. Here's a mistake that I see a lot of organizations make. They have a sales team or a salesperson, and oftentimes it's you, right? And then they have everybody else that does the execution of the job. You have your design people, you have your, web people, you have all these other things. If I went to any of them today and I said, who's in sales in your organization? Would every single person raise their hand? And if they would not, we have work to do as leaders. We want them all to recognize that they are in sales, because honestly, y'all, I believe if you can make a customer's day, if you can tick them off, or you can influence their opinion of your organization one way or another, you're in sales. Now just think about that. By that definition, that's literally everyone in your organization, because they're going home and talking to their family, they're talking to their friends, they're talking to their, old college roommate about where they were. Are we even giving them a good story to tell? So just think about these things. And like I said, there will be homework. So the first thing I want you to think about is get those individual goals really clear for your colleagues internally. Make sure you have clear sales goals, customer experience goals. And if you're a one-person shop, this is even more important, because we all know this, the entrepreneurial yo-yo, where You're doing the work, you're doing the work, you're doing the work, but you're not selling. Then you're selling, 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 selling. Then you're doing the work, you're doing the work, you're doing the work. And then you're selling, 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 selling. Sales is a 24/7, 365 sport. We should be selling every day, not just marketing, selling every day as well. You need your own individual goals. I have a very simple sales individual goal, and I invite you to try this for yourself. If at the end of the day, I have not had a meaningful exchange with a prospective client, so someone who does not give me dollars right now, then I didn't go to work that day. It's a simple metric. I have to have one meaningful exchange with a prospective client every day, 5 a week. That's totally doable. But if you guys are like me, there are some days where I'm like, my hair is on fire and other body parts are catching, and I'm barely getting through the email inbox. So that means tomorrow I got to do 2, or the next day I got to do 3. Get those clear goals in place for yourself. I think it's going to change your whole mindset around this. And then accountability needs to be present and understood by your colleagues as well. If you've got a team and you're really creating this sales culture, you got to follow up on it. We can't just say, okay, everybody's going to make a sales call. Okay, everybody's going to create a customer experience. Yay, go you. There's got to be a quality assurance mode of operandi here. You've got to make sure there's some kind of follow-up, and don't be afraid to manage them. Now, I have to pause on this really quick because this is so important to me with leaders and owners of organizations. We somehow feel like we have to have permission to lead and manage our people. I'm going to wave my magic pen wand. You all have it. There is no permissiveness happening. It's your organization. You have the authority to do this already. But I think we start thinking, oh, but I'm imposing on this person. Oh, well, they're so busy already. Stop telling yourself stories. Guys, you're leading. It's your organization, your vision. You are working with them to execute it. And then give some rewards around this. Like, if we hit the goal, there's a little ice cream. Let's face it, I can be bought with ice cream. It's really easy. So, or chocolate, whatever floats your boat. But if you're truly creating this culture, you're probably going to have to do some stuff to help your team and help them to understand the difference between sales and service. So let me give you 5 steps to do this. And these are the 5 steps in my book, super easy. And I'm going to go through them so fast today, but you can go back and look at this again. You got to have a plan, clear, concise goals. You got to be able to look for the opportunities. And by the way, they're everywhere. You got to establish trust and listen to your prospects and your customers because they are your best sales force. You got to ask for the business, and you got to make sure you're following up. And I really believe following up with gratitude is key. So let's talk about planning. So when you look at your year, and we're going into 2022, at this moment in time. So this is an evergreen recording, but truly when you think about planning going forward, do you know what success actually looks like for your agency? Have you really visualized it? Have you sat down and thought about it strategically? Or are you so busy working in the business, you're not working on the business? I invite you to take a moment, give yourself permission to plan differently. And then know your SWOT, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If you've never done this exercise for yourself, y'all, do it. This is an eye opener because you start to see what truly your differentiators are from the competition. And remember, if I can't tell people why you're awesome and why you're different, I can't send you referrals. That's a little scary to think about. Give me a story to tell. Make sure your goals are SMART. Basically, that just means they're measurable. How much? By when? That's all I'm looking for here. But you have to define what makes you different. So really quick show of hands again. Very curious, how many of you can tell me what makes you different, your organization different, within 30 seconds or less without using the words customer service? How many of you can do it? Hands up. A couple of you love this. I'm scrolling through. So here's the deal. I love this. If you can do it, amazing. Keep doing it. The next homework assignment for y'all is make sure the rest of your team can do it. And then if you did not raise your hand on this, work on how you want to tell that story. It's easy to do once you have the vocab, but you do need to plan for it. And here's the reason. If you don't have that plan in place, when those opportunities present themselves, you're not going to be ready. So looking for opportunities, and there are opportunities everywhere. First impressions are huge, but also second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th impressions are huge too. So Do you know the wow moments for your customer? Is it when you finally deliver, a campaign or a product? Is it that you had this lovely interaction with them because they had a problem with some? What are the wow moments? And what are you doing to actually make them wow? Because let's not forget, to y'all, this is the day. You got 15 clients you're doing the same kind of stuff for, probably. It's not a wow for you, but it is for them. And I got to tell you a quick story. So I feel this very strongly because it's that individualized approach to each and every customer and each and every account. And your team needs to know those wow moments too, because if they don't, they're very busy executing, which is fabulous. We want them to execute. We want them to do all of those things, but it's the way we execute. It's the way we create the customer experience. We all have a restaurant that we like to go to, right? Food's good. Great. So that keeps you coming back. That's the minimum service expectation, but it's probably the way they make you feel when you're there. Well, you know what? There's opportunities. It's the fact that somebody walks in and they're walking in the door, they're holding a baby, pushing a stroller, got 9 bags in their arms. Go open the door. It's a wow moment. But oh my God, if you've ever been that person with like 19 bags, you're like, oh, thank God, somebody actually helped. So look for these moments. And I think if we begin just like remembering that these are humans and it's not just that, oh, got to get these 19 tasks done. It's easy. But again, we have to maximize these opportunities. I believe every call is a sales call. It's the personal connection. And you guys know this, that the strong relationships with clients pays those big dividends. But the way we sound even matters, and the way we sound in email. Watch your tone, watch your wording. Nonverbal language is huge. So pause for just a moment. And I want you to think about the last interaction you had with a customer today. Literally, what's the last interaction you had? Was there an opportunity to wow them? Did you do it? Well, if you didn't do it, it's not too late. You can follow up, but ask yourself why you didn't. And it's probably just because there wasn't a plan. You didn't really think about it as that moment. And guys, the wow could literally just be remembering something personal about them. Maybe their kid had a soccer game, or they were going to be going to the ocean again. Dory, lovely. Like ask about those things. Remember something personal about them and really create that opportunity, because just like you can win somebody in a moment, you can also lose them in a moment. And a lot of times, and I don't know if you guys feel this way, but sometimes we feel like we're in a transactionship versus a relationship with a customer. It's like, oh, if there's one mistake, if there's one bad thing, we want to be in relationships. And your clients trust you. That's why they are investing with you. They're wanting your services and they trust you. But there are those moments, and especially with some of our legacy accounts and our legacy customers, we get a little lax with this. We maybe aren't doing all of the wow moments that we could be. So just invite yourself to think about that. And also with your team, another homework, do they know what those are? Are they working on making every call a sales call? A good way to do this, if you do have a team, is to ask them about when they've been wowed. Put them in the consumer shoes, who the customer is, and what was it that wowed them? And a lot of times it's nothing big. It's little tiny things. I mean, maybe, you lost your luggage and somebody went over and beyond the call of duty, like that's great. But it's literally the small things that really add up to making it a powerful customer experience. So think about that. Once you look for those opportunities, that's when you get to look and establish trust with those colleagues and clients. And here's the thing. No sales happen without trust. You know this. I know this. But I think we often mistake rapport for trust. I like you, I'll have a beer with you, go play golf with you, I can vacation with you, and not trust you with my business. Why is that? Have we not truly listened to them? It's about finding out what they want, satisfying those needs. So maybe you have some prospects that you need to go back to and have another discovery conversation. Start at the beginning again. Go back and listen to reestablish that trust, because they may not be recognizing all of your superpowers because they feel like they're not being heard. Now, anybody on this line today, how many of you have said, I don't want you to fix it, I just want you to listen? right? We sometimes complain to our colleagues or our friends, and it's like, you're not listening to me because they're trying to fix it. This is where knowing your customer comes in and knowing what they need in that moment too. But if it is a prospect, I will tell you from a sales tactic standpoint, this is the pinnacle of really where that sales process is going to go. It's going to go one way or the other, and it literally is built on trust. So if you've got a prospect in your pipeline that you haven't gotten over that finish line yet, ask yourself where you are on the trust meter. Or do you just have really, really good rapport? And if you have really, really good rapport, that's lovely, but it's about really responding to their needs and making sure they know you heard them. So make sure you do that little exercise. Now, this is probably the hardest part, and we all know this, asking for what we want. What gets in the way, and put it in the chat box for me, but truly, what gets in the way of asking? What are we afraid of? Let's hear it. Yay, you said it. No, of course. We are all afraid of that. Now, here's the thing. We were all 5 years old at one point, yes? I don't know about you, but when I was 5, I thought my name was No. Can I have a cookie? No. Can I have that toy? No. Can I go do this? No, no. But 5-year-olds are actually the best salespeople on the planet because they are singularly focused on their sales goal. They're selling you on what they want. They're not afraid of the word no, and they are going to do anything in their power to get it, right? Embrace your inner 5-year-old. He or she is still in there. They are still there. Go back to that. But it's that word no that we're so afraid of. So I want to stop and I want to talk about this for a minute. We sometimes think we need permission to ask, or we're not at that point in the sales conversation to ask. Fail fast. Get an answer. It's a yes or it's a no. Maybe is the worst answer you can possibly get. I'll think about it is the worst possible answer you can get. You know why? Because that's just a really slow no. Think about it like you're dating. Would you like to go on a second date? I'll think about it. Guys, that's a no. We know this. You're not ever going on a second date. They're in or they're out. Push for the answer, get the answer, and then move on. And recognize every call, every interaction is a sales conversation. And even if the answer is no, that's a gift. Honestly, it is such a gift because I'm not going to waste my $50 an hour chasing you for a second date. I'm also not going to waste any more of my time promising you the moon and probably sending you little free ideas and, giving you my free advice, trying to show you my value. No, they see it or they don't. And if they don't see it right now, that's okay. And you handle that moment with that trust and love and gratitude because they now became a walking commercial for you. Even the sales conversation is an experience. Give them one to go talk about. We have clients that we walk away from because we're not a good fit for them. And then they're kind of clamoring, like, wait, we want you. And I'm like, we're not the firm for you. We don't have a solution for you. I'm sorry. And what's interesting is they become your best advocates a lot of times. And even the ones that can't hire us yet because they don't have the budget or they don't have the resources in human capital, totally fine, but they go tell others. So don't be afraid to ask for the business. Now, really quick question, and I'd love to see it either in the chat box or raise of hands. How many of you have to think about asking for the business before you ask? Literally, you have to force yourself to think about it and ask. Now, next question. How many of you do an assumptive ask? Where you just assume you've given the pitch, you've sent the proposal. Sure, we got this far. Totally good. They're going to love me. They're going to hire us. I think that happens to most of us because we see our value, right? We know that we've done everything. We're like, obviously, we are the most amazing solution for you ever. Of course, we can fill all of your marketing needs. And why wouldn't you hire us? But you need to ask a question. Love it, Dory. Straight up ask. 100%. Anybody that's married on our community session today, think about it. Somebody asked somebody a question at some point. Y'all didn't just show up at the courthouse and be like, so, I don't know, what do you think? Ask for what you want, take what you can get, and move on. Get clear on that ask. And here's the other thing. You don't ask once, you don't ask twice, you don't ask 15 times. This is a continual keep the romance alive, even with your customers. You continue to bring value. You continue to ask for their commitment. Doesn't ever stop. So just be mindful of that and really work on the ask. And if your ask has a period at the end of it, it's not an ask. So just think about how you even ask for the business. The answer is no, unless you ask. Hello, Ryan, boom, you got it, brother. That's exactly right. It's always a no until you ask, but I think we do some wimpy asks as well. So I invite you to just look at that ask. So last but certainly not least is following up with gratitude. I come from that place. I don't have my coffee cup here, but it literally says grateful on it every morning. And that's the way I start my morning because I don't have to go to work. I get to go to work. I love this. I love helping companies grow. I feel very privileged to do this. We are honored to get to do this work, truly. Like we're helping other organizations. That's a big deal. And they're trusting us with their organizations. So we want to make sure we're following up with everybody with gratitude. Be ready for that yes when you ask. Be ready for that no. But here's the thing. Thank you does not mean goodbye. There is a constant conversation here. There is a lot of follow-up. And maybe this is where your newsletters come in or your marketing campaigns and things like that. But I want you to recognize there is consistent follow-up because you have created a community that now are raving fans of yours. How are you maintaining that community? Are you keeping the romance alive there? It's about follow-up. You guys are marketers. There's a ton of strategies and techniques for following up. I'm not going to preach to you out of your own hymnal here, but I want to make sure there is a sales component because I know you do a good job on the marketing side, but this goes back to following up and asking for referrals, asking if there's more you could be doing. Is there something else they have a need for? What does our follow-up look like? Or has our follow-up turned into almost like just a recurring convo? Like, hey, how you doing? Things are good. Kids are good. Okay, great. Move on. Make sure you're looking at that as a sales conversation. And again, I think you still follow up even if they've turned you down. I think those are still people that had an interaction with you. They had an experience. Let's invite them to be a continued walking commercial. Stay in touch. It's never a bad thing. So really quick recap. Plan for the success. Write it down, have the goals. If you've got a team, make sure they know what those are and they know the role that they are playing in them. And remember the homework assignment from that, if you can't tell me why you're amazing in 30 seconds or less without using the words customer service, you got work to do. Looking for opportunities. They are abundant. They are everywhere. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. It's like literally if you're looking for a new car and like you start seeing all the same cars because it's top of mind. Same. You're going to be able to do this and your team members can be able to do this as well. Establishing trust and listening, that's where it all comes together. And the confusion of rapport and trust, guys, if you can make that leap, it changes everything and it shortens your sales cycle, actually. So be mindful of that. Asking for the business, don't be afraid. An ask has a question mark at the end of that little statement. So if there is a period at your ask, it's not an ask. And then last but certainly not least, following up with gratitude always. I have gone through this super fast. I know there are going to be questions and I want to open it up to that. But guys, here's what I want you to take away from this. If you take nothing else from today, it's having a plan. Having a plan for your organization and making sure that if you have colleagues, they know that plan. They know what it is we're trying to reach and the role that they play in it. Because without a solid plan, none of this other stuff even matters. So go back, work on your strategic plans, get those super clear, how much, by when, and most importantly, I can't wait to hear the success stories. So with that, let's open it up to some discussion. Let's have some fun.
Awesome. Cindy, you are an absolute rock star. If you're comfortable, please unmute yourself. If you want to drop it in the chat, Brett and I will monitor and make sure all of the questions get answered. So who is not shy, who wants to ask the first one? I know people are always a little timid, so I might just like pick someone again.
I can
There we
start
go,
here.
Dale. Hit it.
And sorry if this is going a little personal, Dr. Cindy, are you married?
I am.
Oh, if not, I would ask you for supper, because I have, when I say that, I have some of my team on in the room here, and I was laughing while you're doing this in regards of talking about identifying the hardest worker in the room, and in regards how they don't have to be a salesperson to do sales is excellent. So having that, putting that vision through your organization in regards of, yes, everyone is a salesman at all times. It's excellent. I bought your book when we were on this session, because I just thought a lot of this stuff resonates with some mentors that I say and some things that I preach. So 100%, you got my vote. Excellent job.
Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing that, because I wrote the book for kind of the non-salesperson, right? Like I wrote it for my 20-year-old self, who would have been, ew, I'm not going to be Tommy Two Thumbs. So I'm so excited, and I would love to hear how it resonates with your team. And so after you read it and it started doing some of the stuff in there, and there's a ton of exercises in there too. I'd love to hear the success stories.
Great. Thank you.
Sure thing. I did see a question in the chat box I want to go back to, if that's okay. They were asking what the T in the SWOT is. So it's strengths, the strengths of your agency, and you can do this as an individual thing too, if you're a solopreneur, but strengths, weaknesses. So, where do we need a little help? Opportunities, that's opportunities for growth, opportunities that maybe we've been leaving on the table because of time, resource, and then threats to your business. And that could be competitor threats. That could be maybe your key employee leaving. Like there are lots of things. So making sure you got that. And I know that the community had answered that, but I wanted to go through that one more time just to make sure everybody had that. So, and yes, I know you don't write as fast as I talk. I'm going really, really quick. But here's the other thing. Colleen and Brett know this about me. Reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions I can. I'm easy to find on social media, my email address, all that good stuff. I love working with entrepreneurial spirit to help you grow. So reach out with any other questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Dale. Who wants to ask the next one? Dale, I don't know if it was a real kind of like a question, but I will let it slide this time. I mean, have you seen this woman? She's absolutely stunning.
More of just to prove her point in regards.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Get what you want. I'm technically, for the record, unavailable as well. So
sure.
Love it.
Sure. What's dropped in the chat? Oh, Brett, actually, we've had Cindy on the podcast. I'm not sure if anyone has actually listened to her episode, but Brett just dropped it in the chat here.
I want to speak on that quickly. If you guys have even the past community sessions, if you've been to the Water Cooler Wednesday, you've heard me reference Dr. Cindy's episode multiple times, because I'm such a big fan of that question concept. Like, you have to be deliberate. That idea of the ball's in their court, like so many aspects in life, we think, well, like it's in their court. I'm just waiting on a response. I'm just waiting on these things to happen. With anything in life, and you go to apply to a new job or something like that, and you're like, well, I dropped off my resume, now I'm waiting, it's in their court. It's like, no, like have more intentional conversations, like have that ask, say like, I want this, what do you think? So I've become a big advocate of you. So I would strongly, especially if you guys check out the episode, I would strongly recommend checking out the episode. There's a lot of fantastic insight done there. So that's why I dropped it. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much, Brett. And I have to just mention this though, this works in real life too. So like even
100%.
At the restaurant and they're like, your it comes with a salad and you're like, I want fries. Ask. Like what's gonna happen is a no. And
for sure. My mom's terrible for this. We did family pictures before COVID, right? And then after the picture session, she was so upset because she was like, I mentioned beforehand that I wanted individual pictures with me and you, and then the boys, and then the kids, and then whatever this. And then after the session, she was just like, it didn't happen. Like I mentioned it, blah, blah. I'm like, Mom, when it was happening though, did you stop her and say like, hey, by the way, like I want this to happen? Don't think I should have, or this, when it's happening, ask. Otherwise you can't be upset because you didn't ask.
And I think I mean, I love that. And that's a great example. And here's the other thing that I would encourage you all with your clients. Remember, if you have trouble asking, so do they. So it's our job to dig and make sure we've really uncovered what they need, because let's face it, you have a very specific skill set, and the people you're selling to probably don't even have the vocabulary. Like, they don't even know what to ask you, right? So we have to do a good job of asking them those questions to make sure we're covering what they need and we're delivering on those needs. So I would even say, yes, your mom should have asked, but the photographer could have also asked and said, are there more specific photos? Are there ones that are on your absolute bucket list? I just had a photo shoot in New York a couple weeks ago, and the photographer asked, and she was like, tell me your bucket list photos we have to hit in the next 2 days. And I was like, oh, I got a list for you, you know?
Yeah.
But truly, as the practitioners here, I do think we have to ask too.
100%. I think the onus should be. Totally agreed.
Great. What else? A couple of people have asked to where they can find the link to Water Cooler Wednesday. So I'm just gonna drop in the chat right now. It's a link to Vendasta's webinar, but on the latter half of the page, it says Conquer Local with Vendasta. And so we have our community sessions, our product, and then our Water Cooler Wednesdays as well. So that's available for everyone. I have actually read Cindy's book, and it's pretty great. She sent me a copy after we first spoke, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been kind of obsessed with her ever since. I tried to mimic her look today. It's fine. Who else has a question?
I always know when. Oh,
Does that mean that Vendasta is going to pick up the cost for anyone on the call today for a book?
Sorry, Robert, you're cutting out. What was that?
I said I'm asking if that means
I can't hear you. Robert.
Can't hear me.
No,
Can you guys hear me?
no, we can hear you. She's messing with you with respect to
Yeah,
your
I know.
question.
She got me.
I love that you're asking. I love that you're asking, though. That's amazing.
Robert and I were on a call earlier this week, and he was having mic issues, so I just had to play in that a little bit.
Oh,
but
you got me. Yes.
Robert, go ahead.
What I did want to comment on was that it's funny that the timeliness of this session is beyond words for me, because we were just talking about some of these topics earlier this week. But what was very interesting for me to hear you say about, are you wowing your customers? Are you wowing those prospects? And I'm a big advocate of, getting that ancillary, that ambiguous information about a person, a prospect, so that I can refer back to that at a later time, to let them know I listened, I heard, and take it beyond just the, the product or the solution that I'm trying to engage with them on. I don't want to say sell, but engage with them on. So I do that all the time. I'm always, asking for more information as I'm going through my fact-finding session with them. So, and it's really an effective piece to gaining that trust. They know that you are, you're genuine or authentic, in terms of you care about their needs.
Yeah.
The other thing I just wanted to mention is that I used to have a lot of phobia, stage fright, even when it came to asking for the order. It's funny, if I took it to like a more of a personal side, and this is, I'm a little bit older than most people on the call here, but if I was on a date with someone, I would literally wait until, she was, sticking her lips out to kiss me. I was so afraid to ask for like a good night kiss or whatever else. So when you talk about that in business, what I started doing, and this is not, it's not unique to me, I started, doing more, closes along the way. So, during that initial conversation, during that fact-finding call, I'm always asking questions to get the client or the prospect in the habit of saying yes, getting those affirmations along the way, so that by the time we do get to that actual, let's sign on a dotted line, it's a very organic thing. It's a very natural thing. There's very little, if any, objections that come along with that, because for me, what has happened is that and this is in business, not in personal life, because personally you can go to, a lot of things can happen negatively, but in business, no just means, I'm not totally convinced. So if they're not totally convinced, then something along the way in my process is where the flaw is, and I need to shore that up. So that's worked for me in terms of asking for the close along the way.
I love that you share that, and thank you so much. And you're absolutely right. Like, the more you can get them agreeing with you early on, the better. But something else that you're doing in there that's brilliant is, the old ABC, always be closing. You're actually doing my ABC, which is always be curious. You're constantly digging. You're constantly finding other connections with them. And it's like, I call it the rock star, where like, if you've ever been to a concert, you don't meet the rock star, most likely. You don't have a backstage pass. It's not about that. It's about the way they make you feel. It's the way the music makes you feel. It's the same thing. You've got that rock star aura, or it's the way you make them feel about it. So yes, 1,000.
Absolutely. So thank you very, very much again. Awesome presentation today.
Thank you.
Hey, Robert, it's Robert and I had a good conversation earlier this week about just selling and closing, and I always believe that the big question is, and I've dealt with large sales teams prior life, and my key question is, when do you know you have the sell? Is really the key question for all of us, when you're in that needs and analysis and you're asking all the right questions to try, to figure out their story. And one thing Robert and I talked about is really listening, right? Listening is key. And when you have the sell and that needs an analysis part is when they start telling you their story. They start selling you. And that's when the whole thing flips, is when they start getting excited about who they are, why they got into their business, and then you got them, because then they're giving you your message, they're giving you everything you need to do campaigns and really guide them. But it has always worked when that happens. And if they're not telling you your story, they don't trust you yet. They're not opening that book to you. But as soon as they start opening that book, shut up, let them talk for 20 minutes, whatever they need to do, and just take notes. And then at that point in time, you pretty much feel like it's not a sell, now you got the information to go back and do a really great proposal and come back to them. That's how I've always found that out to be true.
That's amazing. And I love that you shared that. And thank you for doing that. I can't help myself, but I have to offer one more thing. So if I were coaching you guys today, if I were your sales coach, something that I would tell you to do is, with regard to getting them talking, and like you said, getting them telling their own story, that's 100% right. But you can even shorten the sales cycle by establishing that trust in that initial discovery needs analysis conversation, because you guys are just like us. We're doing B2B, right? So we're calling on businesses. They also know you work with other businesses. They know you work with the competition sometimes. So I might be hesitant to share with you some of my challenges because I'm afraid I'm going to look bad against my competitors that you work with or other businesses in town, or that you're going to judge me. So something that I teach in coaching, and take what you like, leave the rest, is I establish joint confidentiality in the needs analysis up front. I would actually say, James, today in our conversation, my goal is to uncover the needs of your organization, talk about your goals, and make sure there's a fit. And we're going to get real personal real fast. So I want you to know that what we talk about stays between you and me and my team so that we can deliver. And that in and of itself, and I'm sure you've done this, James, but it flips the conversation on its ear a little bit. Mm-hmm. Then you don't have to spend 15 minutes on rapport. They're like, oh, wait a second, this is a business conversation. And they're kind of ready to play ball, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I like that. Very cool. Yeah.
Hey, you, my friend.
Nice. Thanks. Great job.
Yeah. In the chat box, I saw NDAs, 100%. We have an NDA in all of our contracts. I'm happy to sign an NDA up front too. But what I would offer to that, Donald, is you want to make sure they hear it and they see it and they know it. And you could certainly offer it, but I think it's in that interaction, because they're buying you in the beginning. So, you could even say, hey, happy to sign whatever NDA you want. And I've done that with organizations. I'm like, I'll sign whatever NDA you want. I'm like $4. I won't talk about anything.
That last nugget was really great. Thanks, Cindy. I'm just curious, what comes first for you, the marketing or sales?
Great question. So I don't know that there's a chicken or egg, because those trains have both left the station. And so they are full force to the destination. I've been in business for 13 years doing this. I've had Orange Leaf for 13 years. So, but I will tell you, when it comes to new business, I think the marketing is a huge piece of it because that gets you the at bat, right? That's the brand recognition. It's all of those things. However, part of our marketing is the sales conversations. It is the follow-up. That is part of our marketing strategy, is the conversation. So I don't know that I have a specific answer because I think they are so closely intertwined, at least for us. I love to hear from the community. What do you guys think? Which one's first?
Don't be shy.
I
I
mean,
know
I'll,
all of
I'll
you.
speak to that if nobody else speaks to it. For me, I think the marketing sets the tone, but the sales brings it home. That's really saying.
It is a synergy. You just said that, Michael, and I couldn't agree more. It is, like I said, they're either side of the same coin. And it's funny because we get people calling us wanting us to do the stuff that y'all do, and I'm like, no, that's not us. We know our swim lane. We do this. We can refer you to people, but we do this. This is our role. It's, I don't have the other superpowers that you do.
I think marketing is important to set, like you said, to kind of set the stage, because you talked about trust and the trust factor. And I think when done properly, marketing really does that well, right? It helps either introduce you, the brand, your clients, whatever, to the customer, so that, again, that helps eliminate one more potential no. I mean, I know just in terms of our own growth, we've been doing this for 10 years. I mean, that's really what opened the doors for me initially. It was just kind of my own marketing, right? It wasn't sales. It was the marketing in terms of the brand recognition. People in my network knew me and trusted me. So that's what got me the at bat. So that's why I think marketing may, like I said, I don't think it's a chicken and egg scenario, but I think usually you have to have whatever that form is, some form of marketing in advance, because otherwise it's a cold call, right? I mean, cold calls are really, really hard. I mean, how many emails are we all getting every day from all these outsourced providers and everything? I don't read them. You don't care, because there's no connection. You don't know who they are. So there's no trust. There's no reason to spend that time.
Yeah,
I
and
totally agree.
I'd add to David there, like, it is a degree of trust and verify. So, if you can be a really good individual in sales, you'd be great at cold calling, you can send a great email up. I mean, inevitably, if it is a new organization, or even if it's someone in your existing network, you're going to do your due diligence in regards of looking at their marketing, whether that's using their landing page as an anchor. If I'm trying to sell someone social media management, and my social media, my Instagram and Facebook isn't dialed, I mean, there's a verification to that. They do go hand in hand. Arguably, what comes first, in my opinion, it depends kind of on the client and the situation, but both have to be dialed in. I always take it as a scale. You don't want one up to be way up or down. You need them to be both very consistent at all times.
And I have to mention one more thing on this, and I love this discussion, but as a business owner, I'm your target, right? Like you would be calling on me. So something else with the marketing versus the sales conversation is, make sure your marketing is written for the people like me who don't have your vocabulary, because that also builds trust. And I think a lot of times, and I've even run into this, where I don't speak your language, and I'm fortunate enough to have people on my team that do. But when we've looked for other marketing agencies to partner with, and I go to your website and I don't understand what you're talking about, I don't know the acronyms, that builds distrust, because you're preaching to your own choir. So even in your marketing, there's a sales moment where you build the trust with them by just like, use plain English. Tell me, throwing SEO out there and all these other things. I mean, I know what those are now, but you might have prospects that don't, and they might not know what a campaign is. They may not know, all these other pieces. So even in the language that you use, recognizing that that's starting to build trust, because again, like I said earlier, they don't know the questions to ask. Like, I don't know what I need. I need you to tell me that. If I knew what I needed, I would have already done it.
Does anyone have any last comments for Dr. Cindy? Or I should probably say Dr. McGovern, right? That's normally how we do it.
No.
Internationally known as Dr. Cindy.
Yeah,
First lady of
everybody
sales.
calls me Dr. Cindy. Nobody calls me Dr. McGovern. I'd like look over my shoulder.
That's great. I saw a couple people turn on their cameras previously. I don't know if they wanted to speak up at all right now? Oh, I hear someone. Oh, that's just Mr. Davis trying to play with his microphone again. No, because speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining today. Dr. Cindy McGovern, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with the conquerors and our Vendasta partners. So thank you so much.